Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Assembly Committee on Revenue to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Considine, De Silva, Flanagan, Gallant, Goulding, Gray, Hafen, Wynn, O'Neill, Roth, Chair Backus.
And I am present. Please mark Assembly Member Hafen present when he arrives. If he doesn't arrive, he may be excused. Him and I have been texting each other, so we'll see how that goes. With that, I would like to thank and welcome everyone who are present here in Carson City, as well as those present in Las Vegas, as well as those that are watching online. We're going to kind of change our agenda a little bit today. We'll go ahead and start with Bill hearing on Assembly Bill 441. Then we will do our work session and we'll conclude with Assembly Bill 457 and Assembly Bill 539. So I will first go ahead and open. Before I do so, I want to, just because we have a lot of bills on our agenda this evening, it doesn't look like we have too many people here, but in just case we have a lot of people on the phone line, to expedite our hearings, I always ask if the bill presenter can present for about 15 minutes or so. We'll take about 10 plus minutes worth of questions, and then we'll try to keep our testimony and support, opposition, and neutral, hopefully to a minimum. We allow for 2 minutes, but always we're going to give equal time to those in support as well as those in opposition. So we do keep track of that time. So with that, I will go ahead and welcome Assembly Member Monroe Marino and her guest, Ms. Morgan, up to the table. And when you are ready, please go ahead with Assembly Bill 441.
Good afternoon, Chair Backus and members of the Revenue Committee. For the record, I am Assembly Member Danielle Monroe Moreno. I proudly represent Assembly District 1, which is in Clark County. And joining me here at the table this afternoon is Ms. Amanda Morgan. We are here to present Assembly Bill 441, which revises provisions governing the Nevada Education Choice Scholarship Program. Committee, as you're aware, I also serve as the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. And in that role, I had the pleasure of chairing the Interim Finance Committee last interim. It was during our August IFC meeting of 2023 that it became apparent that to this body that changes needed to be made, improvements needed to be made to the program in a way that benefited the families utilizing the program. I made a promise to some of the Nevada-based vendors that I would bring a measure to accomplish some of the goals that they had. And I believe that AB 441 is me keeping my promise to not just the vendors, but to the children and their families. I want to make it clear, perfectly clear, that Assembly Bill 441 is not, and I repeat, not a discussion or debate on the existence of the program. We as a legislative body years ago made a promise to these families. So this is not in any attempt a measure to eliminate it. But AB 441, as it's amended, and I believe you all have the amendment on your desk, simply addresses some of the critical gaps in the administration of the Nevada Education Choice Scholarship Program. This legislation seeks to, 1, ensure that taxpayer-donated funds for which a tax credit has been provided are expended in a timely manner by the scholarship organization to benefit eligible students from lower-income households. And 2, requires a scholarship granting organization applying for a tax credit for donations to provide the Department of Taxation with the number of pupils that are currently receiving a scholarship, that have applied for a scholarship for the upcoming school year, siblings of pupils that currently receive a scholarship that are also applying for a scholarship for the upcoming school year, and applying for a scholarship that don't fall into those categories, pupils who are in A or B. It requires the Department of Taxation approve donations to fund pupils based on the priorities of pupils listed above, to the extent that the funds are available. And finally, it requires scholarships granting organizations to be Nevada-based organizations and also incorporated in the state of Nevada. And you might ask, why is that important? It was during that meeting that we learned that an out-of-state organization received all of the tax credits for the children in the program, but Nevada-based organizations had children in their programs that they were not able to provide the scholarships to. The Nevada Educational Choice Scholarship Program provides financial assistance to families with limited income, enabling them to enroll their children in schools of their choice, including private institutions. The program operates by allowing businesses to receive dollar-for-dollar tax credits for use against the modified business tax in exchange for donations made to approved scholarship organizations, which then distributes these funds as grants to eligible students. For years, the program has relied on generous donations to support educational opportunities for Nevada students. And as I said, recently concerns have been raised that the existing framework does not do enough to prevent delays in the use of these funds. Under existing law, scholarship organizations must apply to the Department of Taxation for approval for tax credits before accepting donations. However, there is no clear timeline requiring these organizations to allocate the funds to students promptly. Without such a timeline, there's a risk that funds may remain unutilized, thereby reducing their impact on the educational opportunities of our deserving students. And with your permission, Madam Chair, I'd like to turn the mic over to Ms. Morgan to provide a brief summary of the bill as it is amended.
Good afternoon, Chair Bacchus and members of the committee. My name is Amanda Morgan. I'm with Educate Nevada Now. I'm going to just briefly go through the bill language and the conceptual amendment language. I'm going to start with the conceptual amendment since it's a bit more substantive, and then I'll move on to what you have for AB 441. In the drafted conceptual amendment, Section 1 amends NRS 363A.139, subsection 2, by requiring a scholarship organization include with its application for a tax credit information regarding its scholarship applicants. So this is in their application to the Department of Taxation. The information that they must include includes the number of pupils currently receiving a scholarship from the scholarship organization that have applied for a scholarship for the subsequent school year, the number of siblings of pupils that are currently receiving a scholarship that have applied for a scholarship for the next school year, and the number of pupils that have applied for a scholarship that don't fall into either of those other two categories. Subsection 3 would be amended to indicate an order of priority in which the department would approve tax credits. To the extent that funds are available, the department would approve applications for tax credits, first to fund the pupils that are receiving a scholarship from that scholarship organization that have applied for a scholarship in the subsequent school year, second to fund siblings of those students that currently are receiving a scholarship, and then last to fund any other pupils not in group, the first or second group, in an order in which those applications are received. Section 2 amends NRS 363B.119, subsection 2 and 3 in the same way as Section 1 that I just detailed. Section 2 just applies the same language to the other payroll tax that is eligible for the tax credit. Also proposed in the conceptual amendment, though not fully in a drafted form, is the requirement that scholarship organizations submit applications for tax credits to the Department of Taxation during a set 30-day period. And only after this 30-day period would the department approve the tax credits. This was included to ensure that the department had all of the information in a timely manner to honor that order of priority. And the last part of the conceptual amendment in Section 3, which would amend NRS 388D.27 subsection 1A, would require the scholarship organizations be incorporated in the state of Nevada. Moving on to the bill language, AB 441, Section 1 and 2, would require scholarship organizations to expend the donations for which the tax credits are received within 18 months of the date in which the tax credit was approved by the Department of Taxation. The scholarship organization would be required to repay the tax credit to the department after that 18-month period in an amount equal to the unused portion of that donation. So that concludes my part of the presentation.
Thank you, Danielle Monroe Moreno. For the record, by aligning the disbursement of the donated funds to a strict timeline, AB 441 reinforces the integrity of the scholarship program and underscores Nevada's commitment to providing timely, effective educational support. This proactive measure will not only enhance programs' efficiency, but also reinforce public trust in the use of taxpayer-supported initiatives for education. It will also ensure that Nevada-based organizations providing these scholarships for Nevada's children take a preference over out-of-state organizations to come in and not only get the money, but what we learned in that IFC meeting, hoard the money and not spend it on our children. So I urge you to support this bill, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and I appreciate your work on this because I too sat through that IFC hearing and was quite frustrated with how unfortunately the system worked and left some organizations, especially those Nevada nonprofits, out, and the students that they had afforded funding for were not able to get it because of how the process works. So thank you so much for working on this and spending a lot of time on it. With that, I will go ahead and open it up to questions. Members, do we have any questions for the bill presenter? I'll go with Assembly Member Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question, why 18 months? And maybe, like, how did you come to the 18-month mark? What was your reasoning behind that?
I think because at that point, Amanda Morgan for the record, so it was a rolling application process built into the bill. So I think that additional 6 months gave a little bit of leeway. So when we initially approached LCB, just kind of wanting to make it to where those funds are expended during that school year, I think that 6 month was added by them as kind of padding, because the way that the statute currently stands is that a scholarship organization applies for a tax credit. They have 20 days to approve that tax credit, and then an additional 30 days for that donor to actually make the donation. So there's kind of this rolling period. So I think they were leaving a little bit of leeway. Since that point, now we're asking for a 30-day period. So I think there's open to some changes on that, but that was, I believe, LCB's thinking on the 18-month period, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll go to Assembly Member Golding.
Thank you. And not necessarily concerning the bill, but more the context that you just built around this. So did I understand correctly that there were some students who had received scholarships in the past and then were denied scholarships? Can you give me some kind of a scope of how many approximately students were denied renewal of their scholarships?
Danielle Monroe Moreno for the record. The actual organizations would have to tell you how many of their students were not able to fund this school year because they weren't able to get the funding. In that IFC meeting, 14-hour meeting, it was painful. Some of the Nevada-based organizations, the way the system is set up, it's kind of first come, first serve. And the organization that got there first put in for all of the credits that were available, and they got the money. So when the other organizations, who are right here in Nevada, some right here in northern Nevada, got there to apply for theirs, they were all gone. So then their students that they had provided scholarships for in the past, they were not able to fund. The out-of-state organization during the meeting stated that they would help their students, but as of last week in my conversation with one of the organizations that are a Nevada-based organization, their students still didn't get funded by that out-of-state organization, although they had the credits to do it.
Thank you, members. Any other questions for the sponsor? We'll go with Assembly Member Roth. She'll go ahead and take the question offline. With that, I don't believe members have any other questions for the bill presenter and Ms. Morgan. So if you guys want to step back, we'll go ahead and at this time open testimony in support of Assembly Bill 441. We'll go ahead and start here in Carson City. Is anyone wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 441? With that, we'll go up to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 441? AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 441?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 441, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll come back here to Carson City. Carson City, is there anyone, we're going to open up for testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 441. Is there anyone here today in Carson City wishing to give testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 441? With that, we'll go to Las Vegas, and we will go ahead and take testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 441. Please begin when you're ready.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Valeria Gurr, Valeria Gurr, and I was here today to express support for the bill before the amendment, but now, unfortunately, I have to be against it. I want to make very clear that we are in support of changing the time of 5 years to 18 months for the granting serving organizations, so that the funding can get faster to the students. With that, we do agree. But adding all these unnecessary amendments and changing all the process is going to overcomplicate the process for the program. So I want to remind you that there are 1,600 lower income kids participating in this program. These are very low income kids that do not make more than 300% of the federal poverty line, which is $56,000 amount for income for the year. These are minority students, and if anything, I want to make sure that we make this program better and no worse. And I look forward to having a meeting with the author of this bill sometime this week so we can discuss more. But at this time, I'm going to have to say no. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I don't believe there's anyone else in Las Vegas. So AVH will go to the phone line. Is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly? Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I did not see you there. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. No worries. Chair and the members of the committee, my name is Anahit Baghshetyan. For the record, that is ANAHIT BAGHSHETSYN, and I'm a research assistant at Nevada Policy. Today, Nevada Policy comes in opposition of the bill because this poses unnecessary requirements on the organizations that are granting scholarships. There is already reports out on the Opportunity Scholarship. According to the most recent report, we can see pupils participating and their achievement results. And of course, the NRS has a heavy requirement on the use of the funds, with no more than 5% being directed to administrative funds and 95% of the funds being actually allocated to the scholarships. So to us, this kind of poses unnecessary burden on the organizations and raises concerns. So for that reasons, today we stand in opposition of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. AVH, do we have anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 441?
Testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 441, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Perfect. We'll go to Carson City. Do we have anyone here wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 441? Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 441? AVH, do we have anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 441?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 441, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
With that, we'll go ahead and invite the bill sponsor back up for any closing remarks.
Chair Bacchus and Committee, Danielle Monroe Moreno, for the record, thank you for the opportunity to present the bill to you today. Just one comment. In the first person who spoke in opposition, she's a representative for the Florida company that took the funding for the Opportunity Scholarships last cycle, and it was her organization. She's a wonderful person, but it was her organization that made a statement that they would use the funds that they had to help the other organizations so the students would be able to go to school on their Opportunity Scholarship. They failed to do that. So I appreciate the fact that she wanted to be in support of the original bill, but the other, with the amendment, makes it stronger for our families and children that those parents know that they have a scholarship that we as a legislative body said that we would provide for them. And it protects those Nevada-based organizations for Nevada's children. So thank you so much for allowing us to present today, and I urge you to support the bill.
Thank you so much. We can go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 441. And I believe we have all our members here, so we will go ahead and move to our work session. And so with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Bacchus. The first bill in our work session is Assembly Bill 219. I'm Susanna Powers, Deputy Fiscal Analyst with the Fiscal Analysis Division. The work session document is available to the public on Nellis. Assembly Bill 219 was sponsored by Assemblymember Watts and Senator Doñate. The bill was heard on March 6, 2025 by this committee. Assembly Bill 219 requires the annual distribution of 1% of total live entertainment tax revenue generated from both gaming and non-gaming establishments in the previous fiscal year to the Nevada Arts Council, replacing the previously fixed $150,000 annual allocation from the non-gaming portion of the tax to the Nevada Arts Council. A proposed amendment to Assembly Bill 219 submitted by Assemblymember Watts makes the following changes. It requires that at least 90% of the live entertainment tax revenue provided to the Nevada Arts Council is distributed in the form of grants to artists and local arts agencies across the state. The live entertainment tax revenue appropriated to the Nevada Arts Council must not be used to replace funding or supplant funding available from other sources. The amendment adds Assembly members Considine, De Silva, Golding, and Wynn, as well as Senator Wynn as co-sponsors. Assembly Bill 219 was denoted as being eligible for exemption by the Fiscal Analysis Division on February 10, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, do we have any questions regarding the work session documents, the amendment for Assembly Bill 219? With that, if I can entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a first from Vice Chair Considine, a second from Assembly Member Wynn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Oops, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Assembly Member O'Neill. I was thinking that as I was doing it in my brain. So is there any discussion on the motion? Oh, I will go to Assembly Member O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting no on this. I just feel it's excessive. The Arts Council has been receiving money. They've been using it wisely, and I did not hear a compelling need for the excess or the additional large amounts of money to go to them, to be taken from the tax and to go over to their services. So I'll be a no. Thank you.
Next, I will go to Assembly Member Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On this bill, I'd like to stand in no today with the option that should it make it to the floor with the fiscal impact that it creates, I may change my mind as I hear more about it. But at this time, I'm not in support of this bill.
Thank you so much. With it, those in favor say, we have a ditto from Assemblymember Gallant to Assemblymember Flanagan's comment. With respect to that, those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Okay, let me get our nays. So I have a nay from Assemblymember O'Neill, Flanagan, Hafen, Gray, and Gallant. Oh, okay, let me clarify. Okay, so you're a yay on this? Okay. Okay, thank you. So in opposition, so I have it clear, those that said nay was Assemblymember O'Neill, Assemblymember Flanagan, Assemblymember Hafen, Assemblymember Gray. With it, the motion carries. I will go ahead and assign the floor statement to Assemblymember Watts. We will move to our next item on the work session document and turn it back to Ms. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Backus. The second bill on our work session is Assembly Bill 314. For the record, Susanna Powers, Deputy Fiscal Analyst with the Fiscal Analysis Division. This work session document is available to the public on Nellis. Assembly Bill 314 was sponsored by Assemblymember Edgeworth. This bill was heard on April 3rd, 2025 by this committee. Assembly Bill 314 requires the State Treasurer to establish a program to reimburse education and licensure costs for certain individuals pursuing careers in K-12 education and healthcare. It also provides grants to hospitals offering work-based learning for high school students with input from the State Board of Education. The bill establishes a $10 million appropriation from the general fund to support these initiatives, with unused funds carried forward each year. An amendment to Assembly Bill 314 was submitted by Assemblymember Edgeworth, which would make the make the following changes. Replace sections 1 and 2 and require the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation as part of the Career Pathways Demonstrations Program to establish a healthcare pathways program in Nevada. Delete sections 3 and 4 and replace these sections with language allowing a person who completes the program and works in a Nevada healthcare position for at least 3 years to qualify for tuition and fee reimbursement from the fund created for the Teacher Academy College Pathway Program pursuant to Nevada Revised Statutes 226.420, with appropriate authority given to the State Treasurer's Office to administer these provisions. Assembly Bill 314 was denoted as being eligible for exemption by the Fiscal Analysis Division on March 3rd, 2025. Thank you.
Members, are there any questions regarding Assembly Bill 314? With that, I would go ahead and entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a first, I believe, from Assemblymember Hafen. Oh, Assemblymember Gray. A second from Assemblymember De Silva. Is there any discussion on the motion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion carries unanimously. I will go ahead and assign the floor statement to Assemblymember Edgeworth. Next, we will move to Assembly Bill, I apologize, 377, and I'll have staff go over the work session item right now.
Thank you, Chair Backus. Susanna Powers, Deputy Fiscal Analyst with the Fiscal Analysis Division. This work session document is available to the public on Nellis. Assembly Bill 377 was sponsored by Assemblymember Gallant et al. This bill was heard on March 20th, 2025 by this committee. Assembly Bill 377 requires the property value declaration form for each deed that transfers title of real property or records a land sale installment contract with the county recorder to include a section for claiming partial property tax abatements for primary single-family residences and qualified rental properties that meet certain fair market value rent criteria established by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. A proposed amendment to Assembly Bill 377 submitted by the Nevada Association of Counties adds a section to Chapter 361 of the Nevada Revised Statutes that allows county assessors' offices to accept the declaration of value from the recorder's office.
Thank you. Members, do we have any questions regarding the work session documents for Assembly Bill 377? With that, may I entertain a motion to amend and do pass?
So moved.
I have a first from Assembly Member Nguyen, a second from Assembly Member Gallant. Is there any discussion on the motion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion carries, and I'll assign the floor statement to Assembly Member Gallant. With that, we'll go to our next item on our work session, which is Assembly Bill 462, and I will turn it back to Ms. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Backus. Susanna Powers, Deputy Fiscal Analyst with the Fiscal Analysis Division. This work session document is available to the public on Nellis. Assembly Bill 462 was sponsored by Assemblymember Backus. This bill was heard on April 3rd, 2025 by this committee. Assembly Bill 462 revises the Inland Port Authority Act to include industrial parks and authorities, authorizes a participating entity to establish a tax increment area within an inland port or industrial park to fund infrastructure projects using a portion of property taxes within these zones, and adds a director to the authority board if no participating entity is a city, with the governor making the appointment. Additionally, this bill revises the Teacher Academy College Pathway Program by removing the 3-year teaching requirement for certain fee reimbursements, making any program graduate who submits a federal student aid application eligible. It also requires school districts with high school career pathway programs to provide career exploration opportunities for middle and junior high students and to assign full-time coordinators. A new oversight committee will set goals, evaluate programs, and report annually. Three amendments were submitted to the bill as follows. 1, an amendment to Assembly Bill 462 submitted by Clark County proposes to restrict the authority to create an inland port or industrial park to counties with population over 700,000, limit the undertaking defined in Section 11 related to the creation of an inland port to projects that include an airport with a runway length of at least 5,001 feet, and require the fees authorized in Section 17 to be approved by a supermajority of the Port Authority and adopted in the bylaws of the Port Authority. Second, an amendment to Assembly Bill 462 submitted by Assemblymember Backus proposes the following. Restores the requirement of 3 years of full-time teaching to qualify for reimbursement of certain fees, adds a requirement that the person be enrolled in an NG institution with a declared major in a teacher preparation program to qualify for reimbursements, specifies that student loans are not regarded as financial aid or financial assistance under Nevada Revised Statutes 226.420, subsection 2, continuous reimbursement of certain fees for individuals who complete a Teacher Academy College Pathway Program and work as full-time licensed public school teachers in Nevada for 1 or 2 years, including students who complete the program in higher education instead of high school due to circumstances beyond their control and teach at least 3 years in the state. requires that at least one licensed educator, including a school counselor, coordinate career pathways programs instead of a full-time staffer. Clarifies that career pathway program means a teacher academy college pathway program in high school involving 2 academic years in career and technical education in teaching and at least 15 hours of work-based learning, including internships and other opportunities. Adds definitions for career and technical education program and career exploration, revises the Career Pathways Oversight Committee to additionally include the superintendent of a district where the Teacher Academy College Pathway Program is mandatory or their designee, and makes changes by assigning a public school teacher nominated by the majority teacher organization in large districts to implement the program, adding a full-time teacher nominated by the majority teacher organization in smaller districts, and replacing the Nevada Association of School Administrators with superintendents from districts where the program is mandatory. Third, an additional amendment submitted by Stephen Wood from the Governor's Office of Economic Development changes any reference to inland port or industrial park to inland port and industrial park. Assembly Bill 462 was denoted as being eligible for exemption by the Fiscal Analysis Division on April 7, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, members, do we have any questions regarding the work session documents for Assembly Bill 462? I'll go to Assembly Member O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. And I apologize for bringing this up at this late in time, but on the amendments, Amendment 1, if I'm reading correctly, that it would only really restrict a inland port to Clark County would be the only one to take benefit by the population on there.
With that, we do have 2 people, because this was also brought to my attention, and we can have Mr. Rogan come up for Clark County, but I do believe the intent was that it was to restrict the authority to only the county and counties over 700,000, not to just do a blanket restriction to just counties over 700,000, if that makes sense. But I can have Mr. Rogan explain, and also we do have someone from GoWed who's been involved in this as well here today.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Rogan on behalf of Clark County, ROGAN. To you, Assemblyman O'Neill. That is correct. There's a little bit of a discrepancy between the work session document and the actual amendment. The actual amendment reads that in counties over 700,000, only the county would have the authority to create the inland port or industrial park. It's not intended to limit only Clark County to creating these to the industrial park or the inland port.
Okay, anyone good? Anyone else have any other questions regarding the work session documents? We'll go back to Assemblymember O'Neill.
Ask Mr. Rogan. I apologize, but I can relate. I need my exercise also. And maybe, can I ask GoWed to come down too? If I understand what you're saying correctly, is it's not limiting. So, and I'll pick on Lyon County, which is one of my concerns. They would not be restricted.
Thank you, Assemblymember, for the question. Jeff Rogan on behalf of Clark County. That is correct. Every single county would be able to create an inland port or an industrial park with Clark County's amendment. Again, it's only in Clark County. It's restricted to the county only having that authority.
I think I understand it now. So, okay. Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Rogan. Sorry about making you sit down.
We have Assemblymember Gray who has a question. I'm just trying to save people from walking away and having to walk back.
I was hoping I was going to call him back again. So if I'm reading this right, so in counties of less than 700,000, there'd be more than one entity that could that could create an inland port or office park. I mean, so in Lyon County, which is near and dear to my heart, who would have that authority besides the County Board of Commissioners?
Stephen Wood for the record. So what the amendment seeks to do, so we talked in the hearing about the inland ports that we're looking at doing. One of them is in unincorporated Clark County. So the amendment seeks to, from my understanding in discussing with Clark County, just in Clark County, like Joe said, it would, or like Jeff said, I'm sorry, it would just be the county that could initiate the process to create the authority. In all other counties, it wouldn't just have to be the county that creates the authority or that initiates the process to create the authority. However, the county would still have a seat on the board of the authority, if that makes sense. This is just about the initiation process. Who gets to start the process with my office at GoEd? Who gets to initiate the creation of that authority, if that makes sense.
Okay, so your office will GoEd, who would be able to initiate that besides the county? That's kind of troublesome that another entity could walk in, you know, into a smaller county and initiate a process. I mean, even though they'll have a seat at the table, kind of odd.
Stephen Wood for the record. If I could ask a clarifying question, are you thinking that a private entity would be able to come in and do that?
I'm thinking a private entity in another county, a state, anybody that may benefit from it.
Right. So my understanding, and Stephen Wood for the record, that this would be the government authority so the inland port would have to be within the jurisdiction of the authority that's initiating the process. So in the case of Lyon County, it could only be the county or the city of Fernley at this point that would have the authority to do it. Or in the case of the inland port in that area, Churchill County, which is where the actual intermodal port is. So it would have to be within their jurisdiction. You couldn't have, for instance, Washoe County creating an inland port in Elko County.
So it would only be the municipalities that are covered. Okay, that
Correct.
Makes much more sense then. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're absolutely welcome. I know that was we had 3 amendments on this bill. So with that, if we don't have any other questions, I would entertain a motion to amend and do pass. I have a first from Assembly Member De Silva. I have a second from Vice Chair Considine. Is there any discussion on the motion? I will go to Assembly Member Hafen first.
I just want to say thank you to both the gentlemen that came up to clarify. I think I feel good with what was said. I'm going to vote yes today. However, I do want to reserve my right just to make sure the language is correct. I trust both these gentlemen, and I do appreciate all the work that went into this. So thank you. I will be voting yes, but I did want to reserve my right just to see the actual language. Thank you.
We'll go to Assembly Member Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Rogan? No, I'm kidding. I'm just going to just ditto what Assemblymember Hafen, Assemblyman Hafen said. Thank you.
Absolutely. With that, I'll go. Assemblymember O'Neill is throwing a ditto out as well. So with that, we will go ahead. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion carries, and I'll assign the floor statement to myself. Okay, thank you all. That wraps up our work session. So I will give our vice chair a minute to make her way down to present our next bill on our agenda this evening, which is Assembly Bill 457. Welcome, Vice Chair Considine. Please feel free to begin. We will go ahead and formally open the hearing on Assembly Bill 457.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Backus and members of the committee. I am Venetia Considine, representing Assembly District 18 in Clark County. I will be presenting Assembly Bill 457, which requires certain business entities that are primarily engaged in the business of renting real property to be treated as a combined taxpayer group for purposes of the commerce tax. So just a little sort of background information. I did leave a copy of this recent Review Journal article with all of you before the meeting started. Recently, a headline in the Las Vegas Review Journal was, "A hedge fund is the largest homeowner in Clark County." The article talks about a homes for rent management company that owns at least 3,190 homes in Clark County. The hedge fund has more than $55 billion in assets, but refused to confirm the exact number of houses it owns in Clark County. These hedge funds, private equities, corporations are commodifying the housing industry. Institutional investment firms that own thousands of homes are making it difficult for people to obtain home ownership. Lower income residents are unable to enter into home ownership with corporations, hedge funds, and private equity because they are buying those same homes, those starter homes, those lower income homes, and they are buying them in bulk. And then they are holding on to them without investing in the community that the houses are located in. I want to just back up a little bit to sort of bring in my opinion, the genesis of all of this is the foreclosure crisis in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. When that started, Las Vegas was hit in a sort of triple manner. Not only was it the Great Recession, it was also a hit to gaming, it was a hit to construction, and it was right after a boom in house building. And as for those of you that were here, you may remember there were entities and hedge funds that came in and bought houses by the block. They bought more houses in North Las Vegas than in any other place in the country. And initially the idea was we will buy these houses to help the economy and then we'll put them back on the market. And in many respects that did not happen because it turned out to be a very sort of lucrative sort of stock or a shareholder way of making passive income, and those numbers have just grown. And I want to kind of highlight, back in December of 2019, there was another article in the Review Journal where it talked about 3 entities that owned about 8,000 houses in Clark County. And the reason that the article was even written is those houses and those 3 main landlords had the highest number of maintenance issues, of evictions, and of other sort of community level problems. So I just want to kind of put that timeline together. And because of that opportunity, we are still in a situation where we're close to, I think, 1 out of every 2 people in Clark County and Washoe County are renters and not homeowners. And the foreclosure crisis and these larger entities created these businesses, and that's what they are. They're businesses engaged in owning and renting homes for profit. And as businesses, they should be paying the commerce taxes that other businesses that meet the commerce tax requirement are already paying. And that's what AB 457 does. It creates a combined taxpayer group for business entities primarily engaged in renting real property. A combined taxpayer group is a term that is used in a couple of other states. There may be more, but I know for sure they do it in Ohio and in Pennsylvania. And the idea is when there are owners that have a controlling interest of 50% or more, but in the case of housing, every house has its own LLC, like an LLC for 103 South Main LLC. So a lot of these entities will just have the name of the address of the house as a separate LLC. It will aggregate all of those when there is a controlling interest of 50% or more, strictly for the purposes of meeting and paying the commerce tax when they do meet the commerce tax. And the reason for this is our housing market is in crisis. As I think I said the last time, we either need to raise the wages of working people to allow them to buy homes in our state, build equity and have an investment to help them through hard times, or we need to lower housing prices, or we need to find ways to close the gap between the first two, the raising the wages or lowering the housing prices. This bill will help close the gap. Combined taxpayer groups who meet the existing requirements to pay the commerce tax will be investing in the state and in our communities. Or more homes will be on the market for working families to purchase for attainable housing. So essentially, that is the bill, and I want to thank you for allowing me to present AB 457, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember. First, we'll start with Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so I have a couple questions, if that's okay, because I feel like we tried to deal with this last session, and there were some roadblocks in the midst of that. So first I want to ask the question, like, as a LLC, like I have my properties in an LLC. My husband and I jointly own them. So I guess if we got to the level, right, I would still be included in the commerce tax because I'm not a hedge fund. So is this a way to like kind of get around the law that are included in the commerce tax that hedge funds are exempt from the commerce tax?
So the bill that you were talking about from last session was about real estate investment trusts, and they have a specific carve-out in the commerce tax. So that is not trying to find a way around that. What this is trying to do is if you meet the commerce tax requirements as a controlling interest under the terms of that, then yes, you would be paying the commerce tax. So this isn't just regular taxes. You have to essentially be a pretty large corporation to meet, or entity to meet those commerce tax requirements to make those, to meet that requirement and make the payment.
Okay, can I ask some more questions?
And then also, Vice Chair, if you can say your name for the record.
Oh, wow, sorry, Venetia Considine for the record.
Is it okay if I, okay. All right, so, okay, so now we're looking at hedge funds, got that. So I'm looking at this and like one of the challenges when I was talking to Mr. Nakamoto last year was that it was hard to track everybody. So in this process, is there a process already in place to be able to track so that it's not going to be arduous? Like, are we setting ourselves up for failure, or would this be successful?
Venetia Considine for the record. Thank you, Assemblymember Gallant, for the question. There is not a process. We have some issues where we don't have a way, and it's even listed in the article, to really track everyone who owns the home because they aren't being transparent about who the owners are. So there is a way to do that if there's a requirement to register a controlling interest in entities to do that, which is something I spoke about in a previous bill. And they may be other ways to do it as well. This is sort of a beginning way to kind of build that system that we can so that we know what really the numbers are, because in a lot of cases we don't know. The hedge fund in this article wouldn't tell how many houses in Clark County it owned. It owns at least 3,200 or less than 4,500, but we don't know. And obviously asking them, they won't tell us. So we do need to find a way to require that transparency in order to make this work.
Okay, sorry, one more question.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So I was looking, I know we're not a money committee, but I still have to ask this. Like, there is a fiscal note, it's minimal, but I'm curious, like, has there been any studies about what kind of revenue this would bring to the state? And then maybe even just like further, like the kinds of expectation on protections for like home ownership for actual Nevadans, how this might open up more opportunity for them. Sorry, that was a two-part question. I apologize.
Venetia Considine for the record. Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Gallant. So the irony of all of this is there, okay, can you rephrase the first part of your question?
Has there been any like studies, or have you looked into what kind of revenue it would bring to the state if they do start paying that commerce tax?
Venetia Considine for the record. Again, the problem is there's no way to, or there hasn't been a study to determine this because we don't know who actually all of the owners are to determine whether or not they pay the commerce tax. So this sort of this round robin thing that's going around and around and around.
Okay.
So this hopefully, this and a previous bill will hopefully kickstart some way to start creating those transparencies and being able to know. This is a question that, we can refer to Mr. Nakamoto if he wants to answer that question as well, if the chair is okay with that.
I'm always happy to have Mr. Nakamoto chime in on these issues.
Thank you, I think, Madam Chair. Michael Nakamoto for the record. Could I ask you, Madam Vice Chair, to repeat the question? I was sending an email, and I apologize.
Venetia Considine for the record. I believe the question was, is there any way for us to know how much revenue this would create if we had an idea of who would fall under this?
Michael Nakamoto for the record. In theory, yes. That would probably involve a phone call to thousands of different landlords to find out their rents and all of that. Barring that, I think it would be a difficult exercise. Again, the first obstacle, I think, as you noted, is knowing exactly who the owners are and trying to tie them all together. And then again, the second complication would be finding out what their revenue would be. We would, if this bill were to pass, we would have to make some assumptions, perhaps work with the Secretary of State's office, the Department of Taxation, county assessors, and anybody else who we might be able to get information from to get a handle on it. But yeah, it would be a fairly difficult exercise, I think, for us to come up with anything concrete on it.
Thank you. And Chair, if I may answer Assemblymember Gallant's second question. So the goal of this bill, direct goal of this bill, is not to encourage entities to rid themselves of houses. If the goal of this is to find out who they are, and if they should be paying commerce taxes, they should be investing in our community, because there are many studies that show that the further away landlords are, the more entities or the more homes or units that they own. There are correlating numbers of maintenance issues and a lack of communication. So that is something to factor in. Now, if there is a side effect that it allows more homeowners to buy into houses, especially a lot of these larger entities are buying the starter homes, the low-income homes, then that is just another benefit of investment into the community. And I think in a community where, potentially close to half of the people are unable to build wealth inside of a home, that's something that we will pay for in the future if we don't try to find some ways to fix it in the present.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Hafen.
Thank you, Chair. I want to touch on Section 3, the 50% ownership interest. And I'm just kind of curious how that came about and why that is. It just kind of stuck out to me a little bit.
Venetia Considine, for the record, thank you for your question, Assemblymember Hafen. 50% tends to be about where you've got a controlling interest. So if we're going to consider all of the homes or units that somebody owns, there should be a controlling interest. That is the main unifying percentage.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And maybe this is for Michael Nakamoto, who's sending an email. So I'll just make sure that he's not. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around the concept here. But I thought the intention of the commerce tax was to really just try to do one entity. And I do understand the article, and I appreciate you providing this, targeting the hedge fund for a loophole, right? And so I'm just curious if the intention of the commerce tax was for controlling interest, or if it was specifically for each individual, either hedge fund or business.
That may be a question for legal, but I'm happy if Mr. Nakamoto wants to chime in.
Michael Nakamoto with the Fiscal Analysis Division, for the record. I think I'm going to have to defer that question to legal, and we'll get back to you on that, because I don't know if I can speak to the intent of the sponsors or the authors of the commerce tax back from the 2015 session on situations such as this.
Thank you, and later is off the line is fine. Thank you, Chair, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for this presentation, Vice Chair. This trend is being seen around the country where corporations are buying up houses. So I'm wondering if you were able to look at where it's taking place somewhere else and what this type of regulation has resulted in terms of the market behavior.
Venetia Considine, for the record, thank you for the question, Assembly Member Flanagan. I have only looked at some states to see if they already have sort of the combined taxpayer group as a tax group, but I have not looked at a correlation between that and any change in home ownership by these entities.
Sorry. We'll go ahead to Assemblymember DeSilva.
Thank you, Chair. Just maybe a point of clarification. So this bill essentially, if it is passed, we would be able to identify then those properties that do have the 50% controlling interest. And then theoretically, we would be able to, within a short period of time, after maybe 3 years to 4 years, get some kind of a concrete average as to how much the revenue would be then. Is that correct?
Venetia Constein, for the record, thank you for the question. Assembly Member De Silva. Yes, we would need to create the process for the transparency to determine all of the controlling interest, but once we had that, I believe we would be able to know, based on the commerce tax requirements, what that revenue, if any, would bring in.
That was our last question. So, sorry, we have a question from Assemblymember O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. And once again, we may be turning to Mr. Nakamoto, but getting back to Section 3, the 50%, as you know, the commerce tax, the threshold is $4 million. So 3,200 houses, if they only own 50%, what someone else has the other 49% or whatever it may be, that could be an individual or somebody. To get to the threshold, is that just on what that 50% person is earning? Or is it, because then you're bringing in a person or another entity that may not be involved at all and may just be an individual house? I'm a little confused over how the tax would be determined on who pays and where you get, what numbers do you include to get to the commerce tax 4 million threshold before it's even got to be reported. Then you also have the percentage of what they will pay as the state GNP, which is where the various industries were going to be taxed on.
Venetia Constein, for the record, thank you for the question, Assembly Member O'Neill. So in order to obtain the controlling interest, it is more than 50%, and that more than 50% controlling interest would be able to help create that combined taxpayer group, and then that combined taxpayer group would be the entity, the income that they have would actually be the amount that is used for the commerce tax. So more than 50% means somebody else is less than 50%, which wouldn't be in the combined taxpayer group.
With that, I think we are done with questions for our vice chair. So we will go ahead and open up the hearing for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 457. We'll start here in Carson City.
Hi, my name is Andrew Clark. For the record, that is Clarke. I'm here today on behalf of New Day Nevada. We're an organization that cares deeply about economic justice as well as bolstering state revenues. Now, what this bill would do is be able to close a loophole that has harmed homeowners and renters in the state while also bolstering state revenue. So we're proud to support. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Kent Ervin, Kentervin for the Nevada Faculty Alliance in support of AB 457. Nevada's revenue system is structurally imbalanced with a lack of diversity, making it subject to every economic wind. Rules like a dollar threshold invite finding a loophole, such as the subject of AB 457. Stopping loopholes is kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. But we support bills that fairly apply existing taxes. Perhaps any additional revenue can help support a common good like public education. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll go to Las Vegas. I don't believe there's anyone in Las Vegas wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 457. So we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 457?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 457, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much. So we'll come back up here to Carson City. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 457? Las Vegas, I don't think we have someone there, so we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 457?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 457, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We'll go back up here to Carson City for testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 457.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Becky Dutro, Nevada Taxpayers Association. The association is neutral on this bill. The guiding principles that should be considered when evaluating good tax policy include simple, fair, and equitable taxation. The tax system should not single out, either in favor or harm, one industry, one group of taxpayers, or one type of investment at the expense of others. AB 457 as written applies to only one specific industry and additionally may contain some ambiguity as to how to administer and thus may not be good tax policy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. For the record, Paul Morat with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is currently neutral on AB 457. We're doing some further analysis to ensure there's not some unintended consequences of the broader scope that was brought forth by the bill sponsor. We'll follow up with her as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Carrie Kramer here on behalf of NAOP. We are also neutral in the bill and would like to echo the sentiments of the Chamber and would like to follow up to make sure that there's no unintended consequences on the commercial leasing side of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 457? AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 457?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 457, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you so much. At this time, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 457 with our bill sponsor waiving any closing statements, and we will take a 1-minute recess so we can switch seats.
Thank you. We will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 539. We have our chair, Assembly Member Shay Backus, presenting.
Thank you so much, and I'm happy to say good afternoon, Vice Chair Considine and members of Assembly Committee on Revenue. My name is Shay Backus, and I have the privilege of representing Assembly District 37. I also had the privilege of chairing our interim committee, this last interim for revenue. And so obviously, it's my honor to go ahead and present Assembly Bill 539 on behalf of the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Revenue. In accordance with NRS 218E.320, the Joint Interim Standing Committee of Revenue met after the last session and before this session to evaluate and review issues within its jurisdiction. At the April 29, 2024 JISC meeting, various agencies involved in workforce development presented on various workforce development programs in the state of Nevada. From these presentations, it was highlighted that the responsibility for implementation of workforce development efforts is shared by a number of state and local government entities and private organizations. In response to the JISC chair's request of the various agencies to providing workforce development as to what policies that we could look at and consider in this session, our presenters pointed out the need to target disconnected youth with workforce development programs and the challenges associated with effectively reconnecting them. In Workforce Connections presentation to the Joint Interim Standing Committee, it introduced career development programs that are currently being implemented in Maryland and Mississippi. And these career development support basically middle and high school level students as to potential models for programs for disconnected youth. So based on these suggestions, the committee recommended to draft a bill to require the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation to pilot a career coaching program in collaboration with other agencies to support middle schools and high schools as students are exposed to, prepared for, and connected with career avenues within and beyond the classroom setting. At this time, Vice Chair, I would like to walk the committee through the bill. I also noted when the bill kind of came out, in the drafting process, when I sent my remarks over, it pertained to middle school, and I received a proposed amendment actually from one of my very own constituents this morning and haven't had a chance to digest it, and he actually highlighted that it omitted high schoolers. But with it, basically Section 1 overall provides for the program for career coaches. Subsection 1 sets up the program for the placement of career coaches in middle schools and junior high schools. Subsection 2 sets forth that the program is to provide information and guidance about exploration of career pathways and to provide information about available opportunities in high school. And this was important to me on a side note to elaborate, as this committee is well aware. I've been working on a pipeline for a broad pipeline that could be used in different areas of professions, which started with education, and before Mr. Hammond had left Owen, we were talking about extending that to healthcare as well as to jobs in the energy sector. And you saw a bill that just got approved tonight of AB 314 that is already trying to expand that into the healthcare setting. So the whole key is if we have middle school students that could participate in a pipeline program, that it could be hopefully important to pair them with a career coach or someone that's interested in the community, or if there's grants available, to set up a program where they can know what their opportunities are before they enter into high school and get on that right path. So subsection 3 sets forth the mandates on the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation with respect to career coach program, and also basically allows it also to accept gifts, donation, grants, and other source of money and enter into contracts or award grants to the extent funds are available. Section 2 sets forth applicable definitions to this bill. And other than the additional amendment that I need to talk to my constituent about, I haven't submitted any other amendment. So with that, I appreciate this committee's attention to the presentation of Assembly Bill 539. I obviously ask for your support on behalf of our joint interim standing committee, but I stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you. We do have some questions. We can start with Assemblymember Golding.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I was curious if there's an interaction between the educational component, if this is extracurricular, is there intent for this to be added to required curriculum? I guess I'm trying to understand the interaction between a career coach and school curriculum.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Golding, for your question. Shay Backus, for the record. No, this bill does not mandate any participation in for a middle school with respect to curriculum per se. It's just really hoping and creating a vehicle for the other states that have implemented it. It's been like partnerships, or for example, and I'm going to get confused, I think it was Mississippi that used a lot of ARPA funding to provide this program going in and actually leaning in on other resources like the chamber in that community to like do like people in the community to kind of participate. So not make it mandatory curriculum at this time. It would be nice so that our middle school students would kind of have an idea when they're going into high school, what path they want to go on, because we have so many different options for students with high school and magnet programs and other type of education programs to, if they're interested in something.
Thank you. Assemblymember Hafen, did you still have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vice Chair. Appreciate the bill. I think it's going to do some really good things. And I understand where you're coming from with Section 1, Subsection 1, to the extent that money is available. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the potential process and where maybe you thought that the funds might be available in the future. And I guess the question is like kind of two-part. One, where do you think the funds are going to be come from? And, you know, like, is there a funding mechanism specifically that you're looking at? And then would that end up having to come back in front of IFC during the interim for possible approval?
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Hafen, for your question. Shay Backus for the record. So obviously, when this bill was created during the interim, I think there was a lot more optimism as to maybe federal grants or other opportunities available. I mean, as we had heard in our last hearing, and I'm going to explore this more with Dieter, is obviously they still have federal funding or grant type available programs for workforce development. Not sure if it could go down to this level per se, but when I was looking at this, is obviously looking at it as grants. As to the specific language, to the extent that money is available, that kind of got in there, which was kind of like a little gift that was a surprise to me. It wasn't something I was really thinking about. I may have put it in there with some of the materials I had given over to legal when drafting this bill. But you are correct. I mean, there is that opportunity that if and when this hopefully bill passes, that the Governor's Office of Workforce Innovation, they may look at it and go, in order for us to do this, you know, we may need certain kind of monies, whether from the state to issue grants. Obviously, that may be problematic. They would obviously have to go to IFC, and without there being, it would be in the non-contingency account. And I think right now the state's going to be obviously being very tight with resources as we both sit on Ways and Means and kind of see what's ahead of us. So with that, that's the sad part. So I'm hoping and being optimistic that if anyone was interested in sponsoring it, it just provides a vehicle to allow this opportunity to happen.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make sure that because I do think this is a good bill, and I just want to make sure that there was a path forward in the event that funds do become available. So you've gone on the record confirming that there is a path forward. So thank you, and thank you, Vice Chair. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Nguyen.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, Chair. This is actually an awesome bill. I really, really love the language in here and the concept, because it aligns with one of my favorite topics is truly invest in our youth. So I was thinking of this program in terms of possible connection, if you will, Chair, in terms of, my initiative on financial literacy. I wonder if there's a way to work with you, Chair, on maybe applying certain synergy and partnership already existing in our state, now that the language clearly said that we can accept grants and partnerships and things like that. I know there are great organizations out there like Junior Achievements and others that does a workforce/financial program hand in hand, and hopefully we can make the bill better by maybe putting the financial literacy component, because as the students exploring their career path, hopefully we can ask or add that financial literacy, so that if they're going to go down that path, perhaps they need to have a little bit more foresight into, hey, you're going to spend like, $200,000 or a lot more money to learn this career. Perhaps you should know, the steps through this. So I think, I know I'm getting to the weeds on this, but hopefully with your blessing, Chairs, that we could add this piece of it to the bill if possible.
Thank you, Assembly Member, for this statement-ish, question-ish. But I'm always open to enhancing a bill. And it's funny, when you look at a bill, and I could see you would definitely be someone that would like this just because of your work behind financial literacy and our youth and trying to make them successful for their future, and also your work in nonprofit sector. Yeah, I'm always open to making it better. The materials I probably turned over to legal, the work that they did, I believe it's in Maryland, was huge. But I think a lot of the states with Maryland and Mississippi, they had a lot of funding when they were doing this, and they did it during COVID. The good thing is just really making sure like our students know that they have these different opportunities. And I know with respect to Assemblymember Golding's comment is that there may also be a need to be something that's woven in, but I didn't want to make anything mandated on our education, our school districts at this point, where it's just kind of starting this tool from what we saw from other states and what was recommended by Workforce Connection.
So follow up, Vice Chair. Is it the intent that if we don't have money, Chair, that we can work with private partnership because the enabling language is already there, so Workforce Innovation can say, hey, I'm going to go to a bank and work with this because they have existing program, and maybe they can then have the permission to go to the school versus going directly?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Nguyen. That's kind of what the intent was and what other states have done.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing this. Since there are so many programs in place intended to accomplish something along the lines of what this program does, which is educate kids and gear them toward career opportunities, whether it's DECA, whether it's the Clark County Summer Business Institute program, the Urban League has youth employment training programs. Is the goal of this, I'm just looking to see it on the record, for the state to create sort of an umbrella that catches all and create some cohesion, some broad collaboration statewide with some guidelines that help to make the programs as a whole more successful, as opposed to these individual spaces of 15 minutes of fame, if you will?
Thank you so much, Assemblymember, for your question. I can't take credit for this bill. I mean, obviously, when we were sitting on our this idea was brought to us by Workforce Connection as one of the, like, a policy that they thought would be really helpful for our youth. And so they brought it because they saw what was being done in Maryland and Mississippi. But I kind of looked at it as more as a vehicle, obviously not to replace what good work that may happen in the community, but at times, sometimes if there's grants that are available or other tools that maybe someone's interested in, to do the connection. Not maybe like obviously serve as like an overseer, but maybe more as like a resource if hopefully funds become available or be able to work through it.
Chair, Vice Chair, may I have a follow-up? Okay, well, thank you for that. I guess sometimes I worry that we all have the same great idea and the programs exist, so they think of another program to do it again as opposed to investing in the programs that exist. Because there are similar programs that life coach and career coach and pair kids up from high school age to work with people in professions, be it law, be it pharmaceutical industries, what have you. I think that we can't have enough. I mean, let me say that on the record. So this is a great program. I just want to make sure that the existing program, because they're all looking for money. So then we create another one that's yet looking for more money from the same resources, and there's only so much to pull from, but it is a great program concept.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Flanagan. It was not my intent to take away from what other organizations in our community to do. Rather, and I think a lot of this, when you looked at it from the success that was happening in other states, I think they were basically definitely utilizing it to provide grants to other organizations to provide their career coaching.
Thank you, Chair. And if would you state your name for the record?
Shea Backus for the record, and I think I didn't say it like 20 times. I always forget to do that. That'd be S-H-E-A, Backus, B-A-C-K-U-S.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Gray.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. what can I say other than I really like this? This addresses a problem, I believe, if I understand right, that I have seen in our school systems for a long time that actually, I won't point to Europe too often, but I think they do it right. They start these kids off in like middle school. They do career inventories, career, assessments, aptitude tests. I mean, I would love to see it be like a one-period class every year through high school, because we graduate so many kids without any kind of plan after high school. They'll enroll in college, they'll drop out, they have student debt then. I mean, is that where you're going with this? I mean, is this a way to make sure that they know where they're going when they're done with high school?
Thank you, Assemblymember Gray, for your question. Shay Backus for the record. I think back to, and I think it was when I was in 10th grade, was the first time I sat down, and I couldn't even remember which class it was, I don't think it was health, but it was some sort of class that I had that was a half a semester course. And it was really the first time that I had an educator who kind of had me look at what I wanted to kind of do when I grew up and the pathway to get there. But I feel sometimes that's too late. And so that's why I was a big fan of middle school and junior high school, because we have so many great high schools. Like, say, if I wanted to get into manufacturing, you all have Ace High School up here that a student could go to. But if I wanted to be an educator, looking at the pipeline, if I went to high school and I knew to start off on that right foot, making sure I'm taking the right classes so I could graduate from the teacher pathway program, then that would enable me to be like a part of that early on, and then also have those hard conversations like we were talking about financial literacy, of the benefits of starting early and or like dual credits, things to get college, if you have to go to college for whatever program. This isn't something that only looks at students that would be interesting to go to college. It would be for all different types of careers. I guess I agree with you as to what you said.
That sounded absolutely like a perfect answer. Yeah, I mean, not every kid's cut out to go to college. Not every kid wants to go to college. I mean, even if they're graduating valedictorian, they may want to go on and be a mechanic. I mean, that's what their calling is. And there are kids that want to be doctors that should be mechanics or somewhere along those lines. But yeah, I mean, and where I'm going with this is developing a life plan with goals and objectives along the way. I mean, I think the statistics are somewhere like 75% of the kids that actually put their life plan down on paper with their goals and go through these kind of courses and programs actually achieve those. And I think it would be a boon to our students and our state as well. So again, there was no question there, but thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Okay, I don't see any other questions or not questions. So thank you for the presentation. If what we would like to do now is to move on to testimony, and we will begin with testimony in support here in Carson City. Please make your way down to the table and begin when you are ready.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cade Grogan, that's CADEGROGAN, and I'm with Ferrari Reader Public Affairs here on behalf of Transfer. Transfer offers workforce development and career exploration solutions through virtual reality technologies. Our technology is used in Nevada and across the country. We believe that every learner should have the opportunity to explore careers that offer upward mobility, steady wages, and gainful employment, and we believe AB 539 helps provide those opportunities. Preparing middle school students with career knowledge is vital for Nevada's future workforce. We encourage your support of AB 539. Thank you.
Vice Chair Constein and members of the committee, my name is Susan Kima, and I am the Executive Director for the Nevada Association of School Superintendents, and we are in support of AB 539. Should funds become available, Nevada's superintendents support career exploration and coaching in middle and junior high schools. This action would allow for the opportunity to align with current and future career coaching initiatives in our high schools. The result of this type of support would aid in the development of a strong Nevada workforce. Thank you for your time and attention to this bill.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors, representing commercial construction in Northern Nevada. We are here in support of AB 539. The construction industry has been suffering from a workforce shortage for years. It's the primary challenge we hear about from our members. Not only did we lose a generation of construction workers due to the fallout from the Great Recession, we are now losing a generation of career tradespeople to retirement. We have a staff person dedicated to workforce development at the AGC, and a huge part of her job is to have a presence in schools in Northern Nevada. This bill has the potential to complement those efforts and expose even more young people to the variety of well-paying careers in construction. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. Paul Morat with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of AB 539, and we appreciate the effort that's been put forward by the bill sponsor and the inclusion of chambers of commerce in the bill as one of those partners. As we've seen from the private sector, we know coaching works and mentorship works, and through other programs we've engaged on over the years, and we appreciate the thoughtfulness and encourage the committee to support this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And turning to Las Vegas, I don't see anyone in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on a line wishing to support testimony for AB 539?
Testify in support for Assembly Bill 539. Please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. Stephen Cohen for the record. Support the bill with the amendment that I submitted this morning, with apologies to the committee that it was so late. It's dead time. Thank you.
Chair, we have no more callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Okay, thank you. We will now move to opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to AB 539? Seeing no one, still seeing no one in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to AB 539?
Testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 539. Please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on AB 539? Seeing no one and still seeing no one in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral on the bill?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 539, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. And the presenter has waived any final remarks. I will now close the hearing on AB 539 and take a quick 1-minute recess.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I can now call this meeting back to order, and we are on our very last agenda item, which is public comment. So we will go ahead and start here in Carson City for public comment. Don't see anyone coming down, so no one's in Las Vegas. So we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give public comment this evening?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to give public comment at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, this concludes our meeting. Have a great night.